Hi guys, this is Ricky here from Buff Nerf Repeat, and today I'm going to be running you through my review for No Man's Sky, which I recently posted on the Buff Nerf Repeat website, which is buffnerfrepeat.com. Now I'm going to start off by saying that I have not played No Man's Sky before the next update, so I'm not comparing what it was like before and after the next update. I'm reviewing it as the game is now. The reason I didn't get No Man's Sky when it initially released, because I was really looking forward to it, but I didn't bother buying it because of the negative reviews and the blatant lies from the developers. So just out of principle, I didn't go out and buy it. However, it's 2 years on and it's just dropped on the Xbox, and I am mainly an Xbox player, and I have the Xbox One X, so it means I can play this in lovely 4K, and luckily it supports 4K. And I've kind of forgiven Hello Games for what they've done, because they have worked on it a lot and they've added a lot of stuff they said they would add at launch. Now I'm going to hop in with some good positive things. So my first impressions of the game were great. I mean, you can't really fathom how big the game is until you play it. I mean, I read online that there was like 18 quintillion planets, and you can read that as much as you like, but you can't really understand how big that is until you see it yourself. So the first time I got myself into space after the short tutorial, which is basically just repair your ship so you can get into space, I opened up the galaxy map and I saw hundreds of these different coloured circles which are actually solar systems. So there's blue, orange, green and red, and within these blue dot solar systems there's 5 planets or so. I think there can be up to 1 to 6 planets, but usually there's a good few in each solar system. So it is a massive game, and I was really impressed with how smooth it all is, going from one planet to another, flying around space. It's a beautiful game in space, and even on the ground it's lovely. So it's a very smooth game, and even on the Xbox One X with 4K quality mode enabled, I've read some things online where people were moaning that there's a bit of lag and stutter, but I didn't really notice any of that. Sometimes it might have slowed down a tiny bit when I was on a planet with really bad weather and stuff, but other than that it ran perfectly. Now, I've only really played this game in multiplayer. I mean, I've flown around a little bit by myself and I've done a few of the missions and stuff by myself, but usually I'm in multiplayer with my buddy, and it works really well. The multiplayer is done pretty well. There's a few things missing that I would like to have seen. So, for example, we can't get in the same spaceship, so we always have to follow each other and stuff. So it just takes a bit of the bonding away from the multiplayer, because you can't do all of the things together. But overall, it's a really good multiplayer experience. Building bases and exploring, it's all a lot more fun when you've got your friend, as you would imagine. So now I'm going to start with a couple of negatives. The first one is resource generation. As with any survival and crafting game, you know that resource generation plays a key role. However, the way you gather resources in No Man's Sky, it just takes far too long. I mean, for example, you have a laser beam, and the laser beam, it helps you, well, it mines the resources for you, so you have to blow up trees and rocks to gather these resources. However, the laser beam actually requires the resources you're mining to recharge, and especially at the start, I'm going to say especially at the start a few times, because later in the game this isn't such of an issue. But it just slows down the whole process, so it stops you progressing as quickly as you could. And I know that it makes sense from Hello Games to do that, so you don't just get to the end game straight away. But the way No Man's Sky is made, it's kind of made for the end game and just the exploring. It's not made to have barriers stopping you exploring the different planets and solar systems and the galaxies. But the resource generation really does stop you doing this, especially early game, like I said before. Now, that wouldn't be such a massive issue if you didn't need resources for literally everything you do in the game. I mean, if you only needed the resources to go to different solar systems or craft items, it wouldn't be so bad, because it means you can explore the solar system that you're currently at fully and gather resources along the way. However, you need resources to even stand outside of your spaceship, because your spacesuit needs like life support and stuff like that. So you literally need resources to do anything, even just to stand still. So it's a big barrier in the way of exploration, and I hope that they can find a way to fix it. And another thing that makes it slightly worse is your inventory space, especially at the start before you purchase the upgrades. So you've got very limited inventory space, and it just gets really tiresome and boring, even tedious, just to keep mining these resources. Now I'm going to go into more detail about why it's only an issue at the start. It's only an issue at the start because in the later game, credits are really easy to come by. You can get them from mining anything, and you can upgrade your scanner, so when you scan stuff you get loads of credits for it, more than enough to buy any of the materials you need. So because you have the credits, you can then buy anything you need, and you don't need to do this tedious mining which they force you to do at the start. So that's the first negative out of the way. However, there are a couple more negative points that I need to make. The next one is going to be the combat. It is lackluster and it is boring. I mean, when I first imagined No Man's Sky and having space battles, that sounded epic. I thought I was going to be in Star Wars, shooting up some pirates and killing players just for the fun of it. However, the reality is the AI is really, really dumb. They keep doing the same thing. They kind of just fly away from you and then fly back in the same formation and the same pattern every single time, no matter who the enemy is. So it kind of makes it too easy. It's so easy to kill them. I can literally kill them in a couple of seconds even, and it just makes the whole combat really boring. So from a personal thing now, I just ignore the combat, and there's no way you can avoid it. Don't get me wrong, you can't avoid it, but you can ignore it. So I just ignore them and carry on flying to my destination, and eventually the AI gets bored, or you reach your destination and they stop following you anyway. So that's one really annoying part of the game for me. Not as annoying as the resource generation though, because I didn't buy No Man's Sky for the action and the shooting and stuff. I brought it for the exploration and the crafting and things like that. But then on the ground, the action doesn't get any better either. So basically on the planets there's these things called sentinels, and they're basically small flying robots that stop you destroying the planet, which is fair enough. I wouldn't want anyone destroying my planet. However, it gets really annoying. So when you start mining something, these sentinels will come over and scan you, and if you don't stop mining they will attack you, which, like I said before, is fair enough. However, the problem comes when you kill one. So you kill one and you're all happy that you killed one, but that's not the end of it. More come. These are called reinforcements, and they just keep coming. No matter how many you kill, they seem to just keep coming in an infinite loop. So there's no way to get away from them unless you manage to evade them, which you can do by getting in your spaceship and just flying around the planet without going into orbit. Because if you go into orbit, they then send spaceships after you, which is just as annoying as the sentinels. So the sentinels really add nothing to the game. They don't make it any better. They could be removed and it will be a good thing for the game. So some more improvements could be made there. The same with the animals. I haven't really found any hostile animals that just want to attack you on sight. They only really attack you when you attack them first. And even if you do find some that want to attack you, they're not powerful. They pose no threat whatsoever. Okay, now I'm going to go on to my final negative of the game, and that is the planets, and by that I mean the empty planets. Now don't get me wrong, all of the planets look beautiful, and there's quite a few different types of planets. For example, ice planet, water planet, lush planet, stuff like that. But really they're all the same. For example, there's buildings on each planet, okay? So the three that I know of is abandoned buildings, observatory, and the trade post. And they are exactly the same. They look exactly the same. They have the same NPCs in them as every other planet. There's no variation to them whatsoever. And even the planets themselves, although they may look different, it's really just different coloured grass and different coloured trees and rocks and stuff. There's not too much variation outside of the 5 or 10 or whatever totally different planets there are. For example, the water planets, like I said before. So it all gets a bit boring. So it takes away from the exploration because there's not much variation. So that was a little bit annoying, but it's something I think they can work on. And I was expecting to see like big cities on the planets and stuff. And I kind of understand why there's not big cities. It's because it's obviously all auto-generated. And if they had big cities, it would be the same on every planet, exactly like the buildings that are already in place. But maybe they could just have like 5 planets or something, which they manually create with big cities and lots of stuff to do and see on them. And then you could arrive at them via the portal or something like that. There just needs to be something more to the planets because they're very big and they're very empty at the moment. So I'm hoping that's something they can improve in the future. But so like I said before, don't get me wrong, the planets are beautiful and you can explore on them for a long time, but eventually when you get to a certain hour mark in gameplay, it gets very repetitive and slightly boring, I might say. I know that sounds like a lot of negatives, but there's a lot of positive too. For example, there are a lot of upgrades for the ships and for your exosuit and for the multi-tool, so there's a lot of things to spend your resources on, so it makes the resource generation, which I pointed out earlier, at least worthwhile in the long run. The base building is really cool as well. It does take a lot of resources to build a base, but when you get to the point of actually wanting to build a base, you should have the resources to do it. And another positive is actually the wildlife found on the game. The mobs are generally different on each planet, which is something really cool. And some of them are really funny, actually. I saw a big giant pineapple thing jumping around the planet, and I thought that was pretty funny. And so yeah, then the game's massive. I mean, there's lots to do, and it's a chill out game. It's one of those games that you would put on for an hour or two when you just want to chill out. I mean, for example, I wear a Fitbit 24/7, and when I'm playing other games, my heart rate can go up to like 80, 90, something like that, and my resting heart rate is 64. But when I'm playing No Man's Sky, my heart rate goes all the way down to 58 and sometimes even lower. So it's a really good game if you want to chill out and stuff, but it's just frustrating in some parts of it. So would I recommend it as a game? Yes, I would. I think you should go out and buy it only if you're a fan of exploration and crafting games, because if you're looking for action, this is not the game for you. But me personally, I love exploration games, crafting games. For example, I love Don't Starve and Don't Starve Together. I think they're great games, and this is a great game to add to your collection if you really like space and exploration. I mean, there's no game better than it. It's better than, I would say, Elite Dangerous and other games of its kind. So that's all for the review. This was just a top level review. If you want to check out the full review on our website, then go ahead. It's buffnerfrepeat.com, and on the website I go into a lot more detail about the things that I don't like about the game and the things I do like about the game. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, and until next time guys, I will see you later.